Hi, my name's Adam Bell. If you're watching this video, you either know that I am somebody that goes on the internet and designs tabletop role-playing games or talks about tabletop role-playing games. You can get my games at adamybell.games. That's not what this is about. You may also have been sent this video by a friend who wants you to know why tabletop RPGs are cool. That's what I'm here today to talk to you, the viewer, about. Is why I think tabletop role-playing games are something that you should play. This is a topic that I think is fascinating because there's a very strong, I'm not going to say community, but there's a very strong base of people in the world that love tabletop role-playing games in many, many forms. And then there's an even larger, I would say, most people that don't know anything about it. Of those people that don't know anything about it, maybe they do know, like, yes, Dungeons and Dragons exists. It's something where weirdos sit around a table and talk about wizards or some shit. And, that is kind of what it is, but I want people to know more about what they can do with it and what they can expect from it and why they should do it. So, here we are. I'm going to try to do this. This is definitely not going to be the last time I try to touch on this topic for the internet. But this is going to be a kind of freeform video of me just talking about some cool games and talking about some cool things that are done with games that maybe fascinates you. So, how do I begin? I don't know. See, there's a chance that you're already asking and getting annoyed because you don't know what a tabletop RPG is, and I've just said it 14 times, I think, in the intro. I can't remember. I recorded it a few times. And so to me, it feels like I've said that word 1,000 times by now. But for the viewer, nicer experience. Hopefully. Hi, welcome. Let's break it down. So if you go back in time to when you were a kid, right, and whoever you played with as a kid, whether it's your cousins or siblings or whatever, you invariably, almost certainly, played pretend. You made up little stories, you ran around, you were role-playing. That is what, as adults, we have decided is called role-playing. And there are a few different types of it, but the types that we are focused on in this video, because it's a very... I'm not going to say... It's unique. It's a unique way of playing. That's tabletop role-playing. So the tabletop here implies that you are sitting around a table with your friends. The role-playing implies that you are playing pretend. In the traditional tabletop role-playing style comes from, the early days of, like, Dungeons and Dragons and other games from, what is it, the 70s? I don't know, I'm not a historian. Where you had one person who is known as the Dungeon Master or the Game Master or any other type of master. And they are a person that is in charge of, like, curating a world and bringing a world to life. And all of the other players exist as characters. Like, they create characters that live and operate in that world. So you've basically got all of these players that are acting as characters, kind of like saying, oh, my person does this, my person does that. And then the game master, with the help of the rules, adjudicates that and be like, oh, you did this? Well, this happens. And the sum of that over the course of a session, which is like everybody sitting around and playing, is you get a little story. So these stories can be anything. Like back to Dungeons and Dragons, a session story might be, we went into a dungeon, we fought some skeletons, we came out with treasure. That's the story. When I simplify it down like that, maybe it doesn't sound as fun, but it is, because it's like that moment to moment, like, ooh, what's behind this? Ooh, there might be a trap. Ah, surprises. But you can imagine that in the decades since, and especially I would argue in the last decade or two, there's been incredibly creative ways to approach this form of play. So you might be asking yourself now, like, why the hell do I need a game to play pretend if I did it just fine as a kid, and why the hell would I even want to play pretend as an adult? That second question, that's a whole lot to unpack, I think. And if you're asking yourself that, I would just recommend you try it. Let yourself experience the magic of play, because it's very important to adults just as it's important to kids, and capitalism kind of stifles that from us. We don't need to get into it here. But why do you need a game? Like, what's the importance of a game? Like, why would there be so many? You seem to imply, Adam, it seems like you're implying to me, the viewer, that there are dozens or hundreds or thousands of these games. What the hell? It sounds like you could just do the one. And the answer is it gets all types of stories. Like, why are there multiple video games? Why are there multiple movies? Why don't we just have the one movie? Why are there multiple books? Like, we don't need to... We've all read a book. What's the deal with the other ones? And it's just you get a different experience out of each type of game. So every game is made by a designer or a team of designers, and they're all basically tools for that designer to try to facilitate an experience at your table. And of course every experience is going to be different. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, it might be way different than if I play Dungeons and Dragons, even if we're playing the same game. You know, there's a lot of thought to be had on the variability of play between them, but like the reality is different games facilitate different experiences. The real meat of this question is why would I want to put rules on my storytelling, and why would I want to put rules on my play? And the answer to that, of course, is because it's fun as hell. Why do we put rules on basketball when we could just go and dribble a ball? And it's because by agreeing to a framework, to the way we bounce the ball and throw it into that hoop, we can better like facilitate an experience with each other. If you just played freeform basketball, you know, you end up with all these Big Brother rules where like, oh, actually, if you stand in this particular spot where only I can stand because I'm taller, I get more points. And not that trying to tell a story with a group of adults, or, you know, with your kids or with your family or whoever you're going to play tabletop RPGs with, would be a disaster like that. But just the existence of a framework gives you, I don't know, it's tough to explain unless you try it, but it gives you something to go off of and sets expectations around the table, and you all know what you're doing. You all know what you're here for. You've all agreed to play gun and slinger. And so you know that you're going to tell a story about a sentient gun and the person that wields it. That's great. So with all that said, every game that you might play in the tabletop RPG scene is a designer's attempt to facilitate a different type of experience. In the same way that every movie that you watch is the director, the producer, the actors all trying to facilitate like elicit emotions and thoughts and feelings and whatever from watching their movie. Like, yes, once you see one horror movie, you know, you've experienced horror, but then you see another horror movie and you experience another aspect of horror, and get a different message and all of that. So every tabletop role-playing game, and why there are so damn many, and why we continue to beat the drum and make new ones and say, hi, come get my new game, even though you've already got a ton maybe, it's because it's fun. There's so many things that you can do with the core concept of everybody sits around and uses their cool little brains to to create narrative, to create experience, to create a world. Like, there's so many different types of games that, like, even within one type, it's super varied and it rules. So that's the video, I think. It's just me gushing a little bit about tabletop RPGs as a concept. One day I'll do a more structured version of this. Right now I'm in this December, I'm not calling it Vlogmas, but it's similar, where I'm trying to make a video every day because I'm trying to get past my personal feelings of trying to perfect videos before I put them out, which leads me to never put them out. So, while this might not be as concise, while this might not be as, wow, cool, inspiring as maybe I would love to one day make, I hope it's been helpful for you. If you're somebody that's interested in this stuff, or if you're already interested and just looking for validation that yes, your hobby is cool, or anything. So play tabletop RPGs. Check them out. If you've never played one, grab one, get some friends together and say, let's try this. Yeah. Get out of here. I mean, let me just start throwing some stuff on the table. Right? You know what I mean?